Hi, this is Marie and I have another mini video for you today. Hope you enjoy and let's get started. Today we're going to look at using Copic markers to do a Scandinavian style distress inking. I'll be using E00, E11, E13 and a shadow W3. You'll notice the E13, the 3 correlating to the W3. We're going to be using this cute image by Magnolia, and we're going to stamp this image on Express It blending card with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. We're using this technique to do just the distress inking on the face, the skin tones, and I'll do another video for the clothing. There are 3 things you'll need to know about distress inking. One is that the outer edges of distress inking are extremely dark and they take on a gray tone. So you'll notice I will be using a W3 for that. Number 2, usually images will have approximately 2/3 of their image on mid-tone colors. With distress inking, the edges are dark and about 2/3 of your image are in highlight. There is a lot of white in the Scandinavian style distress inking. And number 3, the very center is very, very light. So those are the 3 things I think of with regard to Scandinavian distress inking. I am going to credit Suzanne Dean for this information. She has always been my Copic guru, my go-to person for everything with Copic questions. And I believe she was the first one to do distress inking Scandinavian style with Copic alcohol ink markers. There were videos out there with distress inking, but I believe she's the first one that figured out how to translate that into Copic alcohol ink markers. So I hope you will enjoy this. We begin with our very dark tone and we lay down some color under the rim and on the very outside with our E13. And now we're going to take the E11 and just flick from the outer edge of that with small flicking motions toward the inner part of our face. Now it's important to use small flicking methods for this because again, we are going to be having about 2/3 of our image very lightly colored for this type of technique. So rather than some light flicking and kind of really letting that wrist action go, keep it a little bit more controlled. Now we're going to take our light tone and we're blending from the inner edge of the mid-tone toward the center. You see how you're getting that very dark outside, and the mid-tone areas are what would normally be mid-tone is actually your highlight color, and it's giving a very light effect to the overall image. Now I'm going to go back and reestablish my dark edges again with my shadow side darkening that area, adding more intensity, taking my midtone, my E11, very lightly flicking again from the inner aspect of that toward the center a little bit, and then again my highlight. You notice I'm reserving some of that center, making sure I'm not getting too much color laid down. Again, every time you lay down a color on top of another color, even though it's the same, you are laying down another particle of color, and it will darken even your lightest of colors. Making sure that you clean off the tip of your nibs so that you get a really clean color and not transferring too much of the darker color into your light. I took a little bit of my colorless blender and very lightly going over the very center part. Again, your 3 parts of Scandinavian style inking. The edges are very dark. The corners have a warm gray. And 3, there is a lot of dark or light in the center, and about 2/3 of your image is white, very light. With I'm using the W3. You'll notice I'm taking the last letter of my shadow, which is 1-3. I'm taking that 3 and using that for the very corners of my warm W color. And I put the W just in the corners. It allows more of a pooling effect, giving that warm gray color to the very corners of my image, which I think is really, for me, looks like a landmark of Scandinavian style distressing. And for your last step, you just lightly go over this with a clean nib. Just touch it in the very center portion with your colorless blender flicking toward your outer edge. Be careful, use a light touch, otherwise it will have a tendency to become blotchy. I hope you'll give this technique a try, and thank you for watching. And if you see it on YouTube, I would love for you to give it a big thumbs up. I would love for you to share, and I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. I try to do videos weekly, so I hope to see you again.